Morning, students. Now we are going to learn about CPU scheduling. In last class, we have discussed about process and its types of process, then process control block. So these topics we have discussed in the last class. Hope you understand. So today in this lecture video, we are going to discuss about the CPU scheduling. Let's move into the topic. So what do you mean by CPU scheduling? So CPU scheduling is the basis of multi-programmed operating systems by switching the CPU among processors. Listen, by switching the CPU among processors, the operating system can make the computer more productive. So how the OS will make the CPU more productive? So to introduce the CPU scheduling, which is the basis for multi-programming operating systems. So to describe, we will have various CPU scheduling algorithms. So in traditional system, in a single processor system, only one process can run at a time. Any others must wait until the CPU is free and can be rescheduled. So in olden days, we are using only one processor system. So nowadays, we are using more than many processor, right? More than many processor means dual core processor, octa processor, quad processor. We are using more than many processor in our Android mobile itself, right. Now we are using Android smartphone, so minimum we are having quad or octa processor, more than many processor is nothing but a CPU. So we are running 8 CPU in our mobile. We are running 8 CPU. Similar to the process, we are running 8 CPU in our mobile nowadays. So in olden days, in traditional days, we are using only one CPU in one single processor. We can able to run only one process. What do you mean by process? As I told earlier, process is nothing but a program in execution. Program in execution. While we are doing a work in our computer system, we will open many files. We will open many files and work among them. We will open any document file, maybe either a PPT or a Word document or Excel file, or we can able to open a browser. Under the browser, we can work under many tab. So each and every file is a program. That program which will in execution, we can say it is a process. So all the process which are all run in our memory only, stored in the memory and run in a CPU only. So how the process is allocated to the CPU at what time? So this is the question. How the process allocating to the CPU at what time? Who is the responsible? Who is responsible for allocating the process to the CPU? As I told earlier in the last class, there are so many schedulers are there. So many schedulers. There are three types of schedulers we have already discussed: short-term scheduler, long-term scheduler, medium-term scheduler. So these are the schedulers who are the responsible for moving the process or allocating the process to the CPU for execution. I am repeating, scheduler is the only responsible allocating the process to the CPU for execution. So now we are discussing about CPU scheduling. So how the CPU is scheduled, how the OS make the CPU scheduled for executing the process, at what priority, at which basis it will allocate the process to the CPU, right? The main objective of the multi-program is to have the process running all the times to maximize the CPU utilization. So in olden days, only one processor, at a time only one process able to execute. After completing the first process, they will allocate the second process to the CPU. After completion the second process, then they will allocate the third process. One by one, they will allocate the process to the CPU. The scheduler will allocate the process to the CPU for execution. Uh, from this, it will have more time. So one by one process have to complete means it needs more time to work, right? So in day by day, they have introduced dual processor, quad processor. Dual means two processors, two CPU. Then they have introduced four processor, four CPU. Then they have introduced eight processor, similar, that 8 CPU in a single device, in a single computer system. Under a single computer system, parallelly we can work 8 CPU, right? So we can run more than many processes. We can have more than many processes at a time. So the CPU won't be become idle. We have to make the CPU always busy. So this is our objective. We have to make our CPU always busy. How to make our CPU always busy? So to make the CPU always busy, it will be a productive one. It will be like utilization, more utilization. Okay. So the objective of the multiprogramming is to have some process running at all times to maximize the CPU utilization. The second point is a process is executed until it must wait. A process executed until it must wait, typically for the completion of some IO request. So in olden days, if one process is executing in CPU, it may request IO device, because it may be a registration form, it may be a login form. To enter the input details, it need to access, the process need to access IO. By using our keyboard, we have to give input. By using our keyboard or mouse, we have to give input until the CPU will wait. Until the CPU will wait, the process is accessing IO. So now the CPU is waiting state. Now the CPU is waiting state because the process is accessing IO state. So behind that, the CPU is waiting. It is idle. So to overcome that, how to make the CPU more productive in nowadays? Nowadays, how the CPU to become more productive, right? So in a simple computer system, the CPU then just sits idle. All this waiting time is wasted. No useful work is accomplished. In olden days, if we are using one single processor, if one process is executing under a CPU, if the process is requested for IO device, the CPU will wait. Another process is also waiting in the memory. So now CPU is becoming idle. So to overcome that, what concept they are applying? Okay, now let's see. So CPU scheduling is the basis of multiprogramming operating system. By switching the CPU among processes, the operating system can make the computer more productive. So we are using the CPU all the time, right? How? So to introduce the CPU scheduling, which is the basis for multiprogramming operating systems. So to describe various CPU scheduling algorithms. So to make the CPU always busy, they are applying CPU scheduling algorithms. CPU scheduling algorithms nothing but a schedule the process or allocating the process to the CPU for execution. In which method? What criteria they are going to follow? So what criteria we are going to follow to allocate the process for execution, to allocate the process to the CPU for execution. So we are having so many algorithms: first in first out algorithm, priority algorithm, round robin algorithm, shortest job first algorithm. So each and every algorithm will follow some methods, some criteria to allocate the process to the CPU for execution. They are scheduling. They are scheduling. For example, while we are working in our system, we will open so many files. We will open so many files So the scheduler will choose any one of the CPU scheduling algorithm to allocate the process to the CPU for execution. Okay. So the scheduler only will allocate the process to the CPU by choosing any one of the CPU algorithm. Okay. Let's move on to the next topic. So in a simple computer system, the CPU then just sits idle, right? In simple computer system, CPU just sits idle when the process is switching over to IO process. So all this waiting time is wasted, so no useful work is accomplished. So to overcome that, how we'll make the CPU will busy all the time. So with the multiprogramming, we try to use this time productivity. Several processes are kept in memory at one time. So now they are keeping all the process in a one particular memory. Okay, keep all the process in the ready queue in the memory. If one process will move on to the waiting state, the CPU or the scheduler will move the another process, second process, which are reside in the memory. You will allocate the process to the CPU. So without making the CPU idle, the scheduler will allocate the next process to the CPU so that they will make the CPU busy at all the time, right? So the last point, when one process has to wait, the operating system takes the CPU away from the process and gives the CPU to the another process. So they will give the CPU to the another process and this pattern continues. Okay, this way they allocate the new process to the CPU for execution, for making the CPU utilization more productive. Okay. So next, what's the difference between CPU scheduler and dispatcher? So this is very important term. So whenever the CPU becomes idle, the operating system must select one of the processes in the ready queue. So whenever the CPU becomes idle, the operating system must select one of the processes in the ready queue to be executed. So the selection process is carried out by the short-term scheduler. So who is going to allocate the process to the CPU? As I told earlier, there are three types of scheduler: short-term scheduler, long-term scheduler, medium-term scheduler. So now the short-term scheduler is responsible to move the process which will reside in the ready queue to the CPU. So the scheduler selects a process from the process in memory and they are ready to execute and allocate the CPU to that process. By doing this, we can have the CPU always busy. Okay, hope you understand. I am repeating once again. Uh, if if I am going to open a Gmail account in my browser, so the Gmail account homepage will is a sign in page. Okay, in sign in page we will have a username and password. So now at this time the Gmail login page is executed or running in the by CPU. Okay, so in the sign in page it has to request the IO because I need to give my username and password by using the keyboard. I need to give username and password. I have to give input to that particular process. So now the CPU is moved to the waiting state. The CPU is moved to the process is moved to the IO state because IO is nothing but an input output. So I have to give input by using the keyboard. I have to give input username and password. So now this process is moved to the waiting state. So behind that the CPU is idle. Now the CPU is not running. Now the CPU is idle because it moved to the IO state for getting input from the user. So at that time, so to won't make the CPU idle, so our CPU scheduling will make the so which the other new process which are all in the ready queue, right? So other process are need to execute by the CPU. So the short term scheduler will pick up the other processes which are reside in the memory queue, they will take the process from the memory queue and allocate to the CPU. Okay, so that the CPU won't become idle. So at all times CPU is busy. So this is the objective, how the CPU will become more productive. Okay, so CPU scheduler is nothing but to allocate the process to the CPU by using a short term scheduler. Okay, so what do you mean by dispatcher? So dispatcher is the module that gives the control of the CPU to the process selected by the short term scheduler. Okay, so next, CPU scheduling decisions may take place under the following four circumstances. So under four category, the CPU scheduling will decide uh, under the four conditions. So let's see first condition. When a process switches from running state to waiting state, then when a process switches from running state to ready state, third one when a process switches from waiting state to ready state, and finally when a process terminates. So under the four condition, only the CPU scheduling decision may takes place. Okay, so last point, for situations 1 and 4 there is no choice in terms of scheduling a new process. If one exists in the ready queue, must be selected for execution. Okay, so there are some terms we need to know. What do you mean by CPU utilization, throughput, turnaround time, waiting time, etc. So what do you mean by CPU utilization? So CPU utilization is nothing but we want to keep the CPU as busy as possible, right? If we move to the if the CPU move to the idle stage, it is not productive. It won't be a productive one, right? So to make the CPU always busy, this is our objective, right? We want to keep the CPU as always busy. So next point, throughput. So throughput is nothing but one measure of work is the number of processes that are completed per unit time. So per unit time, how many number of process done, we can call it as a throughput. So third point, turnaround time. So turnaround time is nothing but you can see the yellow color lines. So turnaround time is the sum of the periods spent waiting to get into the memory, waiting in the ready queue, executing on the CPU, and doing IO. So turnaround time, it's summing up all the time. So actually when the process get into the CPU, before getting into the CPU, actually the process before getting into the CPU, it will wait in the ready queue in the memory. It will hold the files in the memory stage, right? As I told earlier, all the programs, all our files which are stored in our secondary memory hard disk, right? All our files which are stored in our hard disk, maybe E drive, F drive, G drive, all the files are which are stored in the hard disk, that is the secondary memory. If we want to execute any one of the file, we have to open the particular file, right? We have to open the file. So at that particular time, the program which will move to the main memory for execution, right? The program which will move to the main memory, the program or file which will move into the main memory. So in that main memory, they will have a queue, memory queue. So what are all the files we are going to work? All these files which are kept in the memory one by one. So all the files are kept in the memory in the ready queue. So all the process are in waiting state to get the CPU for execution. So from that particular time, that waiting time, after that, if the process got the CPU for execution, so after completion also it will take the particular time, execution time. So waiting time, the process face the waiting time, execution time, then IO. If the process need to access IO, that time also taken into account. So all the particular time are calculated, we can say it as a turnaround time. Okay. So next, waiting time. So waiting time is purely which are all the process or in the waiting mode in the memory. So waiting time is the sum of the periods spent waiting in the ready queue. So before execution. So before execution, all the process are in the waiting state. So in real time example, if I am working in a browser, I will open more than many tab. One tab may be honest website, one tab maybe college website, one tab may be a Google page, one tab may be a Gmail page. More than 5 tabs I can able to open. But in 5 tabs, I will work only one tab. I will work under in only one tab. Remaining 4 tabs which are all open, but it doesn't takes place in the execution mode. Only one tab only I am working. Okay, 5 tabs I had open, but I am working currently. I am working in only one tab. The remaining 4 tabs are in waiting state or in waiting state. Okay, so this is the waiting time. So what is the response time? So the response time is nothing but it is a measure of time from the submission of a request. So our request is going to submit the time which taken from the submission of request until the first response is produced. So this measure is called as a response time. Okay, so before going to the scheduling algorithms, we have to know some small terms in this CPU scheduling algorithm. Hope you understand the introduction about the CPU scheduling algorithm. So what do you mean by CPU scheduling? Why we need a CPU scheduling? What are the types of algorithm we are going to learn afterwards? What is the scheduling terms which you are using in the CPU scheduling? So these are we discussed in this topic. Okay, thank you.